Thank you. Page 19. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22. Page 23. Page 24. Page 25. Senator Abdulaziz Nyako, Adamawa Central.
I knew it. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to move the motion that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 4th July 2018 be approved. I so move.
Senator Mohammed Hassan, Yobe South.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mohammed Hassan, Yobe South. I rise to second the motion that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 4th July 2018 be approved. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 4th July 2018 be approved as amended, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 4th July 2018 hereby approved. Announcement. Letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, Presidential decision to decline assent to the Radiographers Registration Amendment Bill 2018. Pursuant to Section 58(4) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I hereby convey to the Senate my decision on the 26th June 2018 to decline the presidential assent to the Radiographers Registration Amendment Bill recently passed by the National Assembly. This is due to the expansion of the scope of persons covered by the bill, which we are concerned will create disharmony in the health sector between radiographers and radiologists, who are regulated separately. I also note that there is a minor error in Section 2A of the amendment bill when where the word substituting is misspelled as substituting. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. I wish to acknowledge the presence of members of Association of Medical Students, University of Lagos, Lagos State, staff and students of the Centagon International School, Maritime, Abuja, staff and students of Front Page Academy, Suleja, Niger State. All who are in our gallery to observe our Senate proceedings, I wish you all a useful and fruitful observation. You may please sit down. Leader of the Senate. Petition, yes, Senator James Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. My highly respected colleagues, James A.D.O. War Manager, Delta South. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, I have a petition in my hand, and the petition is to you, through me, and of course to the entire Senate. A constituent of mine by name Ominabot O.D. Austin from Isuku, my maternal home, was unjustly removed from the service of the NNPC, and he has written to the Senate crying for justice. And there is no legal entanglement, Mr. President. With your kind permission, I'd like to present the petition, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Come and lead the petition, please. Petition is referred to Ethics and Privileges. Report back in 2 weeks. Any other petitions? Just before I take the point of order, yes, and Jamal Wagwan.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Senator Maruko Wabunwabia North, point of order 42 and 52. Mr. President, do I read or do I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a matter of urgent public importance, as I related with you, as regards the proliferation of roadblocks, police roadblocks and armed police roadblocks along the southeastern expressways, especially the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway, the Owerri-Onitsha Expressway, the Aba-Onitsha-Enugu Expressway, where the proliferation of this roadblock had caused hardship to transportation and has affected negatively to the economic activities.
Okay, just the distinguished colleagues, Senator Mawabana came to me yesterday on this matter, and according to our rules, I need the leave of members so we can take this motion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Carry on.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, my fellow colleagues. Matter on urgent public concern. The growing proliferation of joint police and army man roadblocks along the southeastern express routes, which portend serious implications on the hardship of road transportation and the economy of the region. The Senate, conscious that in the democratic governance of our nation and for the purpose of promoting national integration, it is the duty of the nation and the states to provide adequate and unhindered facilities, including express roads for an encouragement of free mobility of people, goods and services throughout the Federation, while at the same time providing for the security and well-being of citizens. The Senate observed that while there have been serious breaches of the security of lives and property of citizens arising from the war against terrorism in the northeastern parts of our nation, and this necessitating the hindered mobility of people, goods and services on the roads leading to these areas, the same case cannot be made for the heavy blocking of most southeastern roads by combined police and army security where a state of war does not exist. The Senate concerned that the number of roadblocks along the major federal expressways in the southeastern roads, which are manned by a combined force of the police and the army, have suddenly increased and become intimidating, with the most affected roads being the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway, the Enugu-Onitsha Road Expressway, and the Enugu-Aba Express Road, all of which have more than 50 roadblocks heavily manned by the police and army and proliferated at close and intermittent junctures. The Senate persuaded that this high proliferation of roadblocks and heightened police and army presence in an otherwise peaceful environment is not only costly, unnecessary, and failing to balance the matters of national security and citizens' well-being. but it is also extensively obstructive to the free movement of goods and people. It is increasing the citizens' hardship on the roads and their travel time, while proliferating extortion and corruption on the roads, and all this generally affecting the economy of citizens, the Southeast region, and the nation very negatively. Mr. President, on this note, the Senate hereby resolved as follows. 1, to all the Nigerian police and the Nigerian army to quickly take action to reduce or dismantle the heavy roadblocks on Southeastern Express roads so as to facilitate the free movement of goods, people, and services throughout the region and the Federation. 2, to direct the Senate committees on police and army to take a tour of the Southeastern Express road to investigate the matter and report back to the Senate. 3, to all the Nigerian police and the army to always seek to balance the imperatives of national security and the economic interests of citizens in the monitoring of our environment, especially where there are no evident security breaches. Mr. President, I so move and urge my colleagues to support this motion because it will help the reinvigoration of the economic well-being of not just the people of Southeast, but the entire country, knowing that Aba and Onitsha particularly are commercial nerve centers of this country and the ECOWAS sub-region. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Victor Ume. I represent the people of Anambra Central Senatorial District. Distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this motion brought by or moved by the Senator Mario Babonwa. The issue of proliferation of roadblocks by both police and army, and of course, men of the customs and exercise in the whole of Southeast has become a very worrisome situation to our people. Goods can no longer move freely from one location to the other. Commuters are kept on the highways for a very long time. If you pass one checkpoint, you meet another one within a space of sometimes 300 meters. And they continue to suffer all kinds of frustration on their journeys. If you put into consideration the time lost in moving people from one point to another, my colleague did not even remember Onitsha-Owerri Expressway. All over the place, the Southeast is under siege by these people. And security is not seriously challenged in this senatorial zone. I mean in this Southeast zone. It will be important if we can reduce the presence of these roadblocks across the Southeast zone. The people are seriously complaining, and I believe this is the time to show them that they are not marked out for this type of menace, so that people can take out on a trip and calculate the time they will get to their destination and achieve it within that time. So I sincerely support this motion and ask our colleagues to support it. Police points and army checkpoints are necessary, but not in the number we have it now. The inconveniences people suffer, the commuters, the drivers suffer in the hands of these people who man checkpoints. So frustrating, Mr. President. So I so second this motion and urge our colleagues to support the prayers contained therein. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'll go to the prayers then. Prayer 1, urge the Nigerian police and Nigerian army to quickly take action to reduce or dismantle the heavy roadblocks on the southern eastern express roads so as to facilitate the free movement of goods, people, and services throughout the region and the Federation. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the Nigerian police and army to always seek to balance the imperatives of national security and the economic interests of citizens in the monitoring of our environment, especially where there are no evident security breaches. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. Yes, have it. And directors committees on police and army to take a tour of the southern eastern express roads to investigate the matter and report back to the Senate. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. Yes, have it. Thank you very much, Senator Ma, on that. While also talking on that, I received requests from our colleagues, which I want the chairman, Senate Committee on Police to look into. And I observed that, Senator Abu Ibrahim, I observed that we have not taken this issue of the 7 police officers that were killed, I think, was it on Monday in Galadima Junction. I think as the National Assembly, as much as we pay attention to ordinary citizens that lose their lives either by one action or inaction of the police, we all should be seen to also protect and be there for those that protect our lives and make, and in the process of their duty, they lose their lives. So I'd like us to please find out what happened as regards to these 7 police officers that were killed, the circumstances, and how we can also show commiserate with the family and whatever needs to be done so that some of these officers and all of them know that we do care and we appreciate what they're doing in being able to do that. So if you can please let us have either a report or something by next week that we can consider. Unless you have something to tell us, maybe you've already done something.
Committee of Police Affairs invited the IG to brief us on these killings and what happened in Maiduguri. And it's going to be on Tuesday.
So if you please report to us on Tuesday on that. Okay, it's very important so that we can take that up. But I think yes.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, thank you very much, Mr. President, for discussing this, Mr. President. I thank you very much because this is indeed the status of assembly for the people of the FCT. Apart from the 7 that were killed, another 2 lost their lives also in Abaji, area council of the FCT, so bringing the number to 9. So I believe that I should share this information because it is very important so that...
Okay, so the chairman police can take the 2 together and we can take that up next week. That also brings up to another unfortunate incident that also brings up to the unfortunate incident of the youth copper that died yesterday. But I think Senator Atta did approach me, Ajoki, that wants to raise a motion on that. So I'll yield the floor for him to come on his point of order. Senator Atta Idoko.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues. Mr. President, I come under Order 42 and under Order 52 of the rules of the Senate. If you permit me, Mr. President. Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, I come under Order 42 and 52 because of the unfortunate incidents that happened where a youth corper was...
Let me take leave of our colleagues. Distinguished colleagues, Senator I could mention this. We both heard of this unfortunate incident yesterday of a young youth corper, and he has come under 42 and 52 according to our rules. I need the leave of our members. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, from the onset, with the assent of the Compulsory Treatment and Care for Victims of Gunshots Bill 2017 on December 30th, 2017 in Abuja, victims of gunshot and car accidents can now receive immediate treatment in the hospital without police report. Mr. President, this is a bill that was passed and the President had accented. Despite this, Mr. President, 2 nights ago, Ms. Linda Angela Ikwetu, a National Youth Service Corps member serving in Abuja, was allegedly shot by a police officer. The deceased was Filed to pass out from the NYC program today, this date, today, 5th of July. After a compulsory 1-year service in Abuja, her place of primary assignment was at the outsourced global company in Mabushi. She finished work late 11 p.m. Tuesday and joined a few friends for a hangout before their personal parade scheduled for today. They left for home around 3 a.m. Wednesday and was shot shortly after the checkpoint near Sedi Plaza by a police officer who is well identified. Bullet hit Angela on her side by the midriff and she began losing blood in the open roof of the vehicle. She was rushed to Garki Hospital, but they would not treat her until they saw a police report. Despite the fact that the police officers present, while the deliberation was going on, Angela bled and died. So, Mr. President, Mr. President, I bring this to the Senate, and the prayers for this motion, Mr. President, is to observe a 1-minute silence for the repose of the soul of the deceased, and second, and two, the Senate do mandate the Committee on Youth and Sports to investigate the causes of these incidents and report back to the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Mawaba.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I rise to second this motion ably moved by my brother and friend Atai Doko. I didn't even know he was coming up to raise this issue. I was already telling the deputy leader, the minority leader, that you must raise this issue because while we commiserate with the police, but it's important that we call the police to order because we are having too many trigger happy policemen, and they use this purely on innocent citizens instead of using it more on the criminals. I would have been happy that those criminals who charged the 7 policemen, maybe others would have cut them down. So it's unfortunate that a family, I wonder and I imagine the kind of trauma this family will be going through now, who are already expecting, preparing to receive their daughter today, being 5th after national service, only to receive her corpse. It will be quite traumatic. So, Mr. President, in addition to the prayers, I'm also saying that either we advertise or ensure that that bill already passed, which is an act that hospitals should receive gunshot patients without waiting for police report, because we are still living in the past, but now we have an act, a law that must be obeyed. So I support this, and I believe it's a unanimous resolution or motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When we get to the prayers, we'll probably look, in my own view, how we might have to amend the prayer, because I think this unfortunate incident just goes beyond the issue of youth. There are 2 issues here. One, as you rightly observe, how could this happen? How could, as you say, the officer mistakenly or whatever had led to unfortunately gunshot that led to this lady's death? And secondly, as you rightly said also, we had passed this compulsory treatment and care of victims of gunshot. President assented to it on the 30th, end of December. Meanwhile, you now go to a hospital and they will not treat her. I mean, if they treated her, she might not have bled to death. So these are deaths that are easily could have been avoided. And I think until we start holding people accountable to these kind of incidents, they would not stop. Because what is the purpose of us having passed the bill, President assented, and still a hospital would decide that is it that maybe they were not well informed or they're not aware that such a law exists. I think there are a number of issues that we need to take here. So when we go to prayers, I think we might have to look at how to amend it, because it involves just youth and sports. So we'll go to prayer 1. Prayer 1 says, observe 1 minute silence for our soul. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2. This is a prayer which I think we might need to amend. It said the Senate do mandate the Committee on Youth and Sports to investigate the cause of the incidents and report back. Yeah, amendment. Yes, Senator Mao.
Mr. President, distinguished Senator Mao, they are not. Mr. President, looking at the incident, which is two-sided, that is the police aspect and the hospital, I think that this should be Committee on Youth and Sports and Health to investigate, because the Committee on Health should investigate the health aspect as regards the hospital, while the police committee will investigate the police. Then the youth will talk with NYC.
Police or youth that we want to investigate? Yeah, police must come in. Okay, all right then. Okay, all right. Who is seconding this amendment to this? Yes, Senator Aduda.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we do include the Committee on Police Affairs and the Committee on Health. So it makes it 3 committees. I so second.
Thank you. Step 2 has amended that the Senate do mandate the Committee on Youth and the Committee on Police and Health to investigate the cause of the incidents and report back. Time frame, 2 weeks? Again, 2 weeks. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I want to thank Senator Itaido for bringing this up. Again, it's important for us in the Senate to show that, you know, every Nigerian life is important, and we must do, especially young ones that are just about to start their own life. It's a loss that could have easily been avoided, and we must continue to do our best to see how we can defend our people and let them know that their life does matter as we represent them here. So let us stand and observe 1 minute silence for Ms. Linda and Angela Guetu. May our soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate. Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and my colleagues. I'm proceeding under Order 43. Mr. President, by the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the Senate President, the Senator may make personal explanation, although there have been no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave is sought. Mr. President, I have approached you this morning to brief you on the very, very emotional delegation I received this morning from my constituency called Yauri, Emirates. And the message was so simple that the entire Emirates, including the Emir, have found it fit to approach the Senate to thank the Senate for all the efforts it has put in putting the Hydroelectric Power Development Commission bill, which has been assented to by Mr. President. And they are of the opinion that I should convey their appreciation to the Senate. And in addition, to convey their appreciation to those who started this struggle years ago in the House of Representatives. And in particular, including those who have lost their lives, who are not there, who include distinguished Honorable Sule and the later Senator Sule Yadu Gandhi, Honorable Dr. Sani Udu, who happens to be the person I replaced at the House of Representatives, and then Hassan Kiriu Yabo, among others. So it is in line with that that I felt I should convey to you, Mr. President, and the entire Senate, the appreciation of this committee for all the efforts you have made in putting this bill into consideration.
Go ahead.
We
have the authority to formally lay before the Senate a document which shows that the mere inaction and signing into law of hyperdeck is not exhaustive enough of their cry for justice. And this is a document they have submitted to the National Conference on 2014. With your permission, Mr. President, I would like to lay the document, sir.
All right, come and lay it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Obin Naugba on the Federal University of Sports Establishment, etc. Bill 2018. Mr. President, may we invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Sports Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 692, first reading.
Federal University of Sports Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 692, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary, on the recurring mass failure in West African.
President, well distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Clifford Odia, representing Edo Central Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary, on the recurring mass failure in West Africa Examination Council examination results. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary on the recurring mass failure in the West African Examination Council WAEC exam results. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Ali Wamako, please come and lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Joint Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary, Tertiary Institutions and Health Fund and Communication on the innovative education technology, e-learning and blended learning in the education sector in Nigeria. Mr. President, we wish to invite once again Senator Ali Wamako, Chairman of the Committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Former Governor, Senator representing Sokoto North, Senator Ali Wamako.
Thank you, Mr. President. I remain Senator Ali Wamako from Sokoto North Central District. So I move that the Senate do receive the report of the Joint Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary, Tertiary Institution and Tech Fund, and Communication, the innovative education technology, e-learning, and blended learning in the education sector in Nigeria. Mr. President, I so move. Thank you.
Senator Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development in respect of A, ANCO Borrowers Program and its benefits to farmers, B, investigative hearing on the urgent need to investigate the recent importation of maize into Nigeria, C, National Fertilizer Quality Control Bill 2018, D, Cassava Flour Mandatory Inclusion in Flour Production Bill 2018, and E. National Livestock Protection Control and Management Bureau Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Abdullah Adamu, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the reports.
Senator Abdullah Adamu.
Mr. President, I am Senator Abdullah Adamu, and I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion for the Senate to receive the reports of the Committee on Agricultural Development in respect of A motion on Anchor Borrowers Program and its benefits to farmers. B, investigative hearing on the urgent need to investigate the recent importation of maize into Nigeria. C, National Fertilizer Quality Control Act, Amendment Bill 2018, SB 338. D, Cassava Flour Mandatory Inclusion in Flour Production Bill 2018, SB 152, and E, National Livestock Protection Control and Management Bureau Bill 2018, SB 373.
Senator Lawaba, Taraba North.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Senator Isa Shoaib, representing Taraba North. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by Senator Abdullah Adamu. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the reports of the Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development in respect of reports as listed, please say, those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Abdullah, come and lay those reports, please. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the ad hoc committee on the accommodation, logistics, and feeding onshore and offshore of Nigerian pilgrims. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Adamu Alero, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the reports.
Senator Adamu Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Muhammad Adam Aleru, representing KB Central. Mr. President, I hereby move that the Senate do receive the report of the ad hoc committee on accommodation, logistics, feeding, etc., onshore and offshore of Nigerian pilgrims. I so move.
Senator Matthew Rugidi, Edo South.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Matthew Rugidi. I represent the Edo South Senatorial District. I rise to support the motion ably moved by Senator Adamu Alero that the Senate will consider the report of the other committee on accommodation, logistics, feeding, etc. I rise to support the motion ably moved by Senator Alero that the Senate do receive from him the report on other committee on accommodation, logistics, feeding, etc. onshore and offshore Nigerian pilgrims. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the ad hoc committee on accommodation, logistics, feeding, etc. onshore and offshore of Nigerian pilgrims say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator, kindly come and lay the report, please. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the Conference Committee report on the Maritime University of Nigeria, Okere Konko Establishment, etc. Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the Senate and the House passed different versions of the Maritime University of Nigeria, Okere Konko Establishment, etc. Bill. The Conference Committee of both houses have met and harmonized the differences in accordance with Senate Standing Order 87. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Barau Jibrin to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the conference report.
Senator Barau Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barau Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this August Senate. Mr. President, I move that the Senate will receive and consider the Conference Committee report on the Maritime University of Nigeria on Okere Konko Established ETC Bill 2018, SB 295. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Gershom Bassi, Cross River South.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gershom Bassi, Cross River South. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the Conference Committee report on the Maritime University of Nigeria, Okere Konko, Bill 2018, SB 297. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we do receive and consider the Conference Committee report on the Maritime University of Nigeria, Okere Konko, established etc. Bill 2018, SB 295. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Barau Jibrin, can you present the report? Thank you. We'll come and lay the report and then go back and consider it.
Not to be late, man. No. No, you have to be late before consideration.
Can you present the report now?
President, this is a report of the Conference Committee on the bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Maritime University of Okere Konko in Delta State, Niger Delta, for other related matters, 2018 SB 295. Introduction. You may recall, Mr. President, that the above mentioned bill, which originated from Senate first third reading in the Senate on Thursday, May 4th, 2017. The proposed Nigerian Maritime University located at Okere Konko, Warri, Southwest Local Government Area in Delta State, intends to provide maritime academic training, facilities and infrastructure as required by the International Maritime Organization, IMOs, under the Standard Training and Certification of Watchkeeping, STW conventions. As a degree awarding institution and one of its kind in the West African sub-region, to also add as a source of foreign direct investment to our nation and equally boost economic activities in the maritime sector. Pursuant to Senate Standing Orders 1022/2/F, the Senate President on Wednesday, 7th February 2017, constituted a conference committee on the bill to interface with House of Representatives to harmonize the bill. The membership of the bill of the committee for the Senate are as follows, and as I don't need to read them because of time. They are as stated on page 1 of this report, which is before you. The House of Representatives Committee members are also as depicted on page 2 of the report, which is before you, Mr. President, and all other distinguished senators. Number 3, deliberation of the bill. The Conference Committee, after thorough scrutiny of both the Senate and the House of Representatives versions of the bill, adopted all the clauses in the House of Representatives version of the bill except for clause 4.2, where 0.5% of the total annual profit of Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Company is to be deleted if agreed to by this august Senate. Clause 1, 3, A, B, and clause 4, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, except for clause 2. Recommendation, Mr. President. The committee hereby recommends adoption of its recommendation as indicated in tabular report. Number 5, conclusion. On behalf of the Conference Committee members, we wish to thank the Senate and the House of Representatives for the opportunity given to us to serve in the committee. Mr. President, I so submit.
Any comments? No, I think it's a straightforward bill, so I'll just put the question. Those in favor that we do approve the report of the committee say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into committee of the board to consider the report.
No, next item, we are finished. It's a conference report.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal University of Health Sciences of the Poor, Benue State Establishment Executive Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 24th of January 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Jibrin Bora once again to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Barrow Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this most respected and august Senate. Mr. President, I stand to move that this august Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal University of Health Sciences of Tupo Establishment ETC Bill 2018 SB 504. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Ben Murray Bruce.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Ben Murray Bruce, representing Bayelsa East, I move that the Senate will receive the Joint Committee on Education, Basic, Secondary, Tertiary Institute, and Debt Fund and Communications. I so move.
Second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal University of Health Science Otupo established at Bill 2018 SB 504 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Barrow Jibrin.
Mr. President, this is the report of the Committee on a bill from an act to establish the Federal University of Health Sciences to Benue State and other matters conducted therewith 2018. Introduction. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that this August Senate, at its sitting on Wednesday, 18 October 2017, refer this bill to the Committee for Further Legislative Input. This bill seeks to give legal backing to the establishment of Federal University of Health Sciences Otukpo and was sponsored by former Senate President, Senator David Mark. Consequently, the committee held a public hearing on Monday, 6 November 2017, to get the input of the public and other stakeholders. The committee, as well as the participants, agree with the intendments of the bill. The committee's finding: the Federal University of Health Sciences Otukpo was carved out of Federal University of Agriculture, Mukurdi. The establishment was approved by the Federal Executive Council at its 11th meeting on Wednesday, 20th May 2015, with the appointment of a management team in the presence of Professor Martin A.C. Agaji, Vice Chancellor, Professor Francis A.U. Uba, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Dr. Alice A. Meyanga, who was appointed Registrar, Mr. Joseph A. Autar was appointed Basa, and Mr. Ferdinand Agu was appointed Chairman and Pro-Chancellor. Barrister Tahir U. Tahir was a member of the Governing Council. Sir A.B. Amebe Nono was also a member, and Alhaji Ali Umar was also a member. He is a senior advocate of Nigeria. The university was mandated to run programs on all aspects of health, that is in medicine, surgery, dentistry, lab sciences, and nursing. The university was to equally address the problem of biomedical engineering equipment maintenance, nutrition to physiotherapy, healthcare management, and respond to major devastation through disease outbreak. All these were faculties and departments that were to be part of that newly established university at that time. The institution was also to focus on African scientific use of traditional herbal medical products. The teaching hospital in Otukpo was designed to be a major medical tourism center of excellence in Africa, with facilities and manpower to provide best treatments in heart surgery, brain surgery, and transplant surgery, thereby saving the country huge sums of foreign exchange. Mr. President, furthermore, the university was created with the support of World Health Organization and other international agencies, health agencies, working with the then presidency and the ministries of health and education, who were of the opinion that low-income countries like Nigeria with very large population needs to set up health sciences university to address the multiple health challenges faced by the growing population in Nigeria. The World Health Organization maintains that health sciences universities have helped countries with large population to develop their health sciences systems. For example, countries like India, China, Malaysia, and Egypt, and so many other countries follow the same pattern, where these kind of universities were established and they helped to, or they are still helping, to provide the necessary health delivery system to those countries. The Otukpo people gave 600 hectares of land between Otukpo and a town called Otonko to host the institution. However, shortly after the inauguration of the present administration, the institution was suspended and has remained shut down for the past 2 years. The committee's stand on the bill. The Federal University of Health Sciences Bill is divided into 30 sections and contains 2 schedules. The committee, while considering the bill, carried out a careful comparison of the provisions of the bill with the provision of acts of existing federal universities. and Universities Miscellaneous Act. The committee found out that the content and structure of the bill and those of other universities are similar. Committee's recommendations, Mr. President. The committee recommends as follows. 1. Section 1 to 29 should be retained as in the bill. 2. The long and short titles of the bill should be retained. 3. The first and second schedules of the bill should be retained as well. Finally, the explanatory memorandum should also be retained. The committee conclusion, Mr. President. The committee recommends that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do approve its recommendation accordingly. The passage of this bill into law and the opening of this very, very important institution will make a positive difference to the healthcare needs of Nigerians, just as the medical universities conceived many years ago have made large population-based countries like India, China, Egypt, Malaysia to develop their health sectors to such level that they now export medical services to other countries. The committee wishes to express its profound gratitude to the entire Senate for its usual support. Mr. President, this is a very important university, and it will go a long way to help develop our health sector. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Nkwi.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. I think I rise to definitely give my very strong support for the passage of this bill on this very unique, important institution that is definitely likely to bring in a very strong, diverse field in medical upliftment of our own country. The indication so submitted strongly, Mr. President, in this bill where it has outlined, among other things, part of the reasons why very high populated nations like China, India, has been able to definitely manage their medical issues, notwithstanding the wealth in diverse population, is their ability to bring in very strong focus alternative medicine, for which is one of the key areas this very university is supposed to blossom on. Furthermore, Mr. President, when we speak about alternative medicine, we definitely look at part of the challenges of management of our population, particularly in health matters in this country. I remember, Mr. President, you led the Senate to recognize the importance of funding into the health sector, as has been provided by part of an existing bill to support the health infrastructure in our country, so that we are able to address those areas that we all recognize today as part and parcel of the pitfalls of management of our own population as the basic responsibility of government, which is failing day by day. Mr. President, I feel this bill for this unique university is definitely, absolutely necessary. We move and pass it so that it will pioneer that particular aspect and areas for which has been defined in this bill. I so second strongly, Mr. President.
Any other comments? We can move to Committee of the Whole. Yeah.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Thank you, Mr. President. I support the motion.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we resolve to Committee of the Whole consider the bill clause by clause, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, there are 30 clauses here. As you all heard in the report of the chairman, all of them are retained. So I don't think there's really anything controversial. So I'm going to move quickly through these clauses. Clause 1 to 10. Those in favor that clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11 to 20. Those in favor that clause 11 to 20 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21 to 27. Those in favor of clause 21 to 27 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 28. Those in favor of clause 28 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clause 29. Those in favor of clause 29 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clause 30, short title. Those in favor of that short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedules 1, 2, 3 are retained and stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 21 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse the plenary for the chair to report progress.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
Distinguished colleagues, those in support of the motion, revert to plenary. Say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, The Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the Federal University of Health Science Otukpo, establishing etc. Bill 2018 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 29 as recommended, Schedule 1 to 3 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, relying on Order 1, Sub B, I would arrange and take...
No. Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be now read the third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otukpo, and for other related matters connected thereto, 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Health Science, Otukpo, and for other related matters connected thereof 2018 is read the third time and passed. Let me congratulate members of the committee, particularly the former Senate President, for this important bill that will continue, that will definitely make an impact on not only Otukpo, Benue State, but Nigeria, in continuing to provide health services for our people and also continue to improve on the quality of manpower in the health services. I congratulate you, sir. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. Relying on Order 1, Sub B, I arrange the order paper, and now we take the 8th order as the third order. The third order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters on the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors in Nigeria, Establishment Secretary Bill 2018. The single senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 2nd of May, 2018. Mr. President, may wish to invite very distinguished Senator Emmanuel Porker to move the motion for the consideration of the report. I so move.
Senator Porker.
Mr. President, dear colleagues, the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria, Establishment Bill SB 584, was sponsored by the Leader of the Senate. The bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 21st December 2017. Committee Legislative Action. Mr. President, dear colleagues, the committee, in furtherance of this referral, at one of its meetings deliberated further on the provision of the bill, whereby it considered it in great details. As a prelude to the public hearing, the committee placed advertisement in the print and electronic media and invited memoranda from stakeholders and the general public on the bill in order to sensitize them on the provision of the bill ahead of the public hearing. Mr. President, over 100 memoranda was received by the committee regarding this bill. Mr. President, let me go straight to committee's recommendation. But during the public hearing, almost every person present in the public hearing gave credence to this bill and supported the passage of this bill. Although there were dissenting voices from few. Very few.
me go to 7-0 recommendation. Based on the overwhelming support for the bill, the committee has no choice than to refer, and having carefully considered same, recommend as follows, that the Senate do consider and pass the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 584/28 as amended. Conclusion, I wish to use this opportunity to thank the President of the Senate and ask distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to humbly request that the Senate pass this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator James Banja.
Thank you, Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues. I am aware that this is committee's report, and therefore it does not call for another round of debate as if we are taking the second reading. But I just want to thank the chairman of the committee, the great Senator Emmanuel Polka, for having done a good job, because I've gone through the report, and the report is very thorough, and the public hearing that they had is also self-evident of the massive approval of the public for this bill to be passed by the Senate. So having said that, Mr. President, it's a good job they have done, and it is important that Senate gives its approval to whatever that is being recommended. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Yes, Senator Diola Lamleko.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Adeola Solomon Olamilekon, representing Lagos West Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to speak against this report in its entirety. Mr. President, I was opportune to attend the public hearing. And what this institute is trying to achieve in its entirety is already in an institute already established and passed by the act of this National Assembly. That is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN. Mr. President, I want to strongly believe that whatever we do here, we are not doing it only for the immediate, but also for the future. And everybody puts up bills and presents it to the National Assembly for consideration. Mr. President, it will surprise you that at the public hearing, there were a lot of issues. One of which is this particular institute was registered by husband and wife. Please, was registered by husband and wife. And at the public hearing, it was clearly stated. And if you look at the bill, all this contained as a consideration are already established institutes. This bill is seeking that for you to be a member, you must be a member of ICANN, you must be a member of ANAM, you must be a member of CIBN and all other registered institutes. And what the content, the functions of this bill tends to achieve is already part and parcel of these existing institutes that have already been established by the act of this National Assembly. Mr. President, distinguished honorable colleagues, I'm not speaking or addressing us as a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, but I'm saying that what this bill or report tends to achieve will not represent will not represent in any way what this institute can do, because this institute has no capacity. They were just using this method to bring people together, to coerce people together, and make money for themselves.
Okay, Senator Solomon, yeah. Senator Solomon, you know we have to go by our procedures and our rules. We are now at consideration of reports. So all we need to be doing now is to take this thing clause by clause. But now you are going through the principles of the bill itself. We're past that stage. You know that yourself, that we are past that stage now. You know, in as much as I do hear your comments of reservations, but you know that we have passed that stage. Yeah. Senator Marafa, what do you want to speak now? This is no. Just me and you don't work like that, because I need to. You know, you are especially. We have to know what you, because you can take us to Zamfara now. This is audit. Okay.
My name is Senator Marafa, representing Zamfara Central. Thank you, Mr. President. But I think what you wanted me to say is to tell this August gathering that we've reached consensus, me and you, yesterday. So I think these issues now will be addressed more by you, because I'm showing you the reason why I'm talking about them. And you as the Senate President now, you need to lead by example. You went to just Plateau State, we clap for you, which is very good thing. You need to go to Zamfara.
You see what I mean? We are talking about audit. We are talking about audit, forensic investigating matters. Audit, forensic investigators. Where does Zamfara come into audit to investigate?
I'm just trying to exonerate the Senate President from public blame. He is our man, and I like him for doing what he's doing. It is always good to reward loyalty. Yes. So having said this, Mr. President, thank you very much. I just want to say one or two things, Mr. President. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have even speak on this issue because my friend and colleague talked to me about this bill, who I believe is learned on it. I am not too learned, but listening to my friend, Senator Yayi Olamilekon, who I believe is an expert in this field and a member of this body, I think to me, he has laid the foundation on why this bill should even be considered, as far as I'm concerned. They said the more the merrier. The issues he raised, you know, are going to make even their body stronger, because he said the bill would make others, you know, mandatory to be a member of this and that, and there will be connectivity. Just yesterday we were discussing security issues in this country, and the part of the problems we said is there is no connectivity between the security apparatus of the country. So, and it's part of the problem. Number two, Mr. President, this is not a new thing in this country. Civil defense was carved out of the police. Road safety was carved out of the police, and it is all aimed at making the police even stronger. So, Mr. President, I think we go to the committee report, and the duo of Tayo Alashadura, Yaya Alemilekon is supposed to congratulate my chairman, Senator Paul Ka, for even bringing something like this, because it is going to make you bigger. Yes, bigger. No, it's going to make you bigger, and I thank you, Mr. President.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Yeah, leader, just 1 second, please. Let's just be patient. Just Senator.
Mr.
Mr. President, sir, my name is Senator Tayo Alashu Adura, representing Ondo Central Senatorial District. Sir, I believe that we should start doing things that is not going to lead to more expenditure of government on things that are not necessary. In this country today, we don't have enough money for capital development. And we keep on creating institutions upon institutions that are not necessary.
Sorry, Senator Lashaja, as much as I would like to hear you, as much as I would love you to contribute, this is the wrong time. These contributions should have been done at the time where... Huh? Yeah. Senator Alashadra, as you know, the opportunity came at second reading. After he went to public hearing. And now it has come for consideration on clause by clause. That's how we have to treat it. We can't start debating it now at this point at all. With all due respect, I mean, I sympathize with you. I see where you're coming. But at the end of the day, you know, you have to go, we have to go with what the procedure is and what the process is. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we move into Committee of the Whole to consider this report clause by clause. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Okay, distinguished colleagues, there are 21 clauses. So, there are 21 clauses. We'll take it. Those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2. Those in favor of that clause 2 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3. Clause 3. Those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 4. Those in favor of clause 4 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5. Those in favor of clause 5 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clause 7. Those in favor that clause 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clause 8. Those in favor that clause 8 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 9 and 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 11, 12, and 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 14, 15, 16, and 17 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 18 and 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 21 short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedules 1 to 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 49 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title on page clause 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And those in favor that long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse to plenary for the charge to report progress.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary to report progress. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion revert to plenary say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters on the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors in Nigeria, established in February 2018, and approved as follows. Clause 1 to 20 as recommended, Schedules 1 to 4 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time. So move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be read for the third time. I still second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be read third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors and Related Matters 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria.
Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Federal University of Education Zaria Establishment, etc. Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Tuesday, the 24th of October, 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite very distinguished Senator Jibrin Barrow, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Marafa, take your seat. Senator Marafa, please take your seat so the Senate President can preside.
Senator Yai, please allow SP to work.
Senator Marafa, please take your seat. You are a cognate member. Senator Binta Mercy, please take your seat. Senator Binta Mercy, please take your seat. Senator Binta Mercy, please take your seat. Please, senators, allow the SP to preside. Senator Yusuf Yahaya.
Okay, Chief Whip, Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, order please.
Order. Senator Marafa, please. Order please.
Mr. President.
Order please. Order please. Order. Senator Akpan, Minority Leader, please. Minority Leader, please let that crowd leave that place. The SP is waiting for you.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolution to put out the call to consider the report. He said he laid the report for consideration. Okay.
Senator Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this August Senate. Mr. President, I stand to move that this August Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and Third Fund on the Federal University of Education Zaria Establishment ETC Bill 2018 SB 400. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Ledani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I second the motion ably moved by Senator Jibrin.
I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report on the Committee on Tertiary Institution and Third Fund on the Federal University of Education Zaria Establishment Bill 2018 SB 400. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Just before Senator Barajibri takes his report, I think I just want to clear something so that there's no ambiguity on this issue. I was approached here by some members of us who felt that the bill we just passed did not pass second reading and requested that we should please get the to check our votes and proceedings and the records. I just want so that everybody's on the same page and that with no misrepresentation. I have before me here the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 31st January 2018. And it says item 12, Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors in Nigeria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 584. Motion made that a bill of an act to establish Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors in Nigeria to provide for the registration and regulation of membership and for other matters connected there with 2018. Debate, question put and agreed to. Bill accordingly read the second time and referred to the Committee of Establishment Public Service to report within 4 weeks. I think this matter is now laid to rest. Thank you. Yes, Senator Barajibri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have before me, which I want to present before you, Mr. President, and the distinguished senators of this respected and distinguished Senate, the report of the Committee on a Bill for an Act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education Zaria in Kaduna State, establishment ETCB 2017, SB 400. Introduction. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that the Senate at its sitting on Tuesday, 11th day of April 2017, referred the above bill to the Committee for further listening.
Yes, point of order, Senator Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, Order 43. Mr. President, with your permission, I will read. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I have been in this National Assembly for the 19th year, and I have worked so hard, Mr. President, to ensure that I don't do the wrong things deliberately. I have my failings. I presented that bill, the Forensic and Investigative Auditors Bill. First of all, it is not a wife and a husband thing. I wouldn't have gone into that. Secondly, why should we question ourselves and our integrity in this chamber? For any senator to stand up here and say that a bill did not pass second reading, and yet a committee of the Senate would present a report, shows or portrays or imputes a motive that this Senate is not working in order, or we don't have any sense of reasoning or focus. So I want to appeal to all my colleagues here. Please, it's not always that we get what we want. Sometimes you get, sometimes you don't. But what we try to do here is in the national interest. We have nothing, no any other interest, but what will make our country better. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Leader. Your comments are well noted, and I'm sure all our colleagues will take note of it as we move forward. I think the most important thing, as you rightly say, there are times that we will get what we want, there are times we will not get what we want. But despite the process, we must continue to maintain the integrity of the institution and also the processes that we all agree to abide with. I appreciate all of us for whatever views, strong views we might have. At the end of the day, we must, abide by the rules that guide us. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
President, after what I said, I want to add that the committee, as well as the participants, agree with the intentions or the intent of the bill. But we're all in agreement that the educational sector, which had consistently produced top-of-the-range manpower in science and technology, health sciences, services, business, agriculture, as well as politics and administration, is not equipped to produce enough top-level specialists, teachers, for the entire school system. Universities of education will serve this purpose as well as produce all-level specialist teachers for the entire educational system, including other professionals in conventional and other universities. Committee's findings. The College of Education Zaria has been running degree programs on affiliation for the past 25 years, and it runs over 20 courses at degree level. There are more than 100 PhD holders currently teaching in the institution. There is no financial implication to this bill. All the operational structures are already in place as the university will take off from the existing Federal College of Education Zaria. Therefore, the college has all it takes in human and material resources to stand as a full-fledged university. Committees stand on the bill. The Federal University of Education Zaria bill is divided into 27 sections. It has 5 parts and contains 3 schedules. The committee found that the content and structure of the bill and those of other universities are similar. Committee's recommendations. The committee recommends as follows. 1. Section 1 principle should be retained as in the bill. 2. The long and short titles of the bill should be retained. 3. The first, second, and third schedules of the bill should be retained. 4. The explanatory memorandum should also be retained. And 5. The savings and transitional provisions should equally be retained. Mr. President, on conclusion, the committee concluded that the committee recommends that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do approve its recommendations accordingly. The passage of the bill into law will upgrade the Federal College of Education, Zaria, to a university that will provide a holistic development of teacher education. And the committee wishes to express profound gratitude to the entire Senate for its usual support. Mr. President, the last administration approved this university, the College of Education, to be upgraded to university. Everything was put in place, but that approval was suspended. And what the bill intends to do now is to revive the university so that it will continue to perform its functions as stated in this report. Mr. President, for me.
If there are no comments, we can go to the committee of the vote. Okay, Deputy Leader.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. While I second the prayer by the Chairman Committee on Education in respect of this bill, I commend them for this very important job, in the sense that if you look at the last recommendation, it says that the bill has no financial implication in view of the fact that the college is already in existence. It's not like seeking intervention of statutory intervention to upgrade it to university level. And I think it's a commendable issue, and I urge my colleagues to support that. I, however, wish to, in passing, say that we need to be a little bit careful in taking certain decisions that keeps on giving the impression that some other people are not entitled to anything. In the sense that so many institutions, and where I proudly come from, Ahmadu Bello University, happens to be one of the largest universities in Africa, sir. And because of the number of institutions that are in Kaduna State is today known as Center of Learning. Learning is a compulsory thing for every citizen, and I think that in taking decisions of this nature, there is the need to understand the fact that there are certain sensibilities that ought to be taken into consideration. I hope I have made my point. Thank you, sir.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into committee of the whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate resolves into the committee of the whole to consider the report. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion to resolve to committee of the whole, consider this clause, this bill clause by clause, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, there are 28 clauses here. They're all retained, and there's nothing in the report as presented that is controversial. So I'm going to move swiftly through this. Those in favor that clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 11 to 20 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 21 to 27 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title clause 28 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that schedule 1 to 3 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that explanatory memorandum on page 32 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that long title page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse the plenary for the charge report progress.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate refers to plenary to report progress. As a second.
Those in favor of the motion to revert to plenary say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Zaria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, and approves as follows. Clause 1 to 27 as recommended, Schedule 1 to 3 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be read for the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be read third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Zaria, and for other matters connected therewith, 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Zaria, and for other matters connected therewith, 2018, is read the third time and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Alvan Ikoku Federal University of Education, Owerri Establishment, etc. Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Tuesday, the 24th of October 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Jibrin Barau, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Barau Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barau Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this August Senate. Mr. President, I stand to move that this August and distinguished Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the Alvan Ikoku Federal University of Education, Owerri, ETC Bill 2018, SB 398. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Ben Murray Bruce.
Ben Murray Bruce, I second the motion.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary and Third Fund on Albany Koku Federal University of Education, Owerri, establishing etc. Bill 2018 SB 398. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Senator Barajibe, please go straight to your recommendation.
Thank you, sir. I thank you for this directive because it's similar to what was obtainable in the last bill. So I'll go straight to recommendation. The Alva Ikoku University of Education bill is divided into 27 sections in 5 parts and contains 3 schedules. The committee found that the content and structure of the bill are similar to those of existing universities. There is no financial implication to this bill, and the operational structures are already in place as the university will take off from the existing Alva Ikoku College of Education, Owerri. The Alva Ikoku Federal College of Education is by all global standards adequately equipped in structure, personnel, and facilities to
All right, any comments, please? Anybody? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverse into the Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause. I second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we revert to plenary, I revert to Committee of the Whole. Yeah, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, again, this we have here 17 clauses. They all retain and in line with the, as mentioned in the report of the chairman, they're all pretty straightforward. So I'm going to move swiftly through them. Those in favor that clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 11 to 16 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that short title clause 17 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that explanatory memorandum on page 32 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse to plenary for the charge of court progress.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the chairman of the Senate reverse to plenary to report progress. I second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that are back to plenary report progress say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on Ivan Ikoku Federal University of Education, Owerri, establishing etc. Bill 2018 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 16 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short titles recommended, long titles recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read at that time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be read for the third time. I second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be read the third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Alva Nkoku Federal University of Education, Owerri, and for other matters concluded therewith, 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Ivan Nkoku Federal University of Education, Owerri, and for other matters connected therein, 2018, is read the third time and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Kano, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018. The single senators will record that the report of the committee was laid on Tuesday, the 24th of October 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Jibrin Barau, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barau Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this distinguished Senate. Mr. President, I stand to move that this August Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Kano, Establishment ETC Bill 2018, SB 397. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Danjumala.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleague. I rise to second motion that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Kano, established ECT Bill 2018 SB 397 as I second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report on the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Kano, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018 SB 397. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Jibril, present your report, please.
Mr. President, this bill is the same in content and nature with the bill that we just passed. So I think I do not need to read the whole report. I'll go straight to read the recommendation. The recommendation, sir. The committee recommends as follows. Section 1 to 6 should be retained as in the bill. The long and short titles of the bill should be retained. The first, second, and third schedule of the bill should be retained. The explanatory memorandum should also be retained. And the savings and transitional provision should also be retained. I want to emphasize that there are 4 institutions, College of Education, that were upgraded to university by the past administration. But that approval was put on hold or suspended by the present administration. And what this bill, the 4 bills want to do is to revive these universities so that they can serve the function as stated in this report. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
Any comments? If not, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, after the Senate resolves the committee of the whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader. I say second.
Those in favor of the motion that we to committee of the whole to consider this bill clause by clause say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, this has 28 clauses, again, all which is retained, so I'm going to move swiftly through that. Those in favor of that clauses 1 to 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 11 to 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 21 to 27 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of that short title clause 28 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of schedules 1 to 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 29 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse the plenary for the charge of progress.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverse the plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion to refer to plenary say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee of Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University of Education, Kano, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 27 as recommended, Schedules 1 to 3 as recommended, Explanatory Memorandum as recommended, Short title as recommended, Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is the constitution.
No. We have to third reading.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Mr. President, colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be read for the third time.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be read the third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education of Kano and for other related matters connected therewith, 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Kano, and for other related matters connected therewith, 2018, is read the third time and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Ademi Federal University of Education, Ondo, Establishment, etc., Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Tuesday, the 24th of October, 2017. Mr. President, once again, you may wish to invite Senator Jibrin Barrow, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this distinguished and respected Senate. I stand, Mr. President, to move that this August Senate do consider a report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the ADME Federal University of Education Ondo, Establishment ETC Bill 2018, SB 399. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Ben Bruce.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Ben Murray Bruce, representing Bayelsa East. I second the motion that the Senate do consider the report on the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the ADME Federal University of Education, Ondo, Establishment, etc., Bill 2018, SB 399. I so second.
Distinguished those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the ADME Federal University of Education, Ondo, Establishment, etc., Bill 2018, SB 399. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Jibril, present your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I said earlier, this is one of the 4 colleges of education that were upgraded to universities by the last administration, but they were suspended by the current administration. And what this August Senate wants to do is to lift that suspension and make the establishment of this university to be formal so that they can help in discharging their function as stated in this bill. Mr. President, I'll go straight because the report is the same in content and structure with the reports that have just been, the bills that have just been passed, the 3 of them. This is the last one. I therefore state that the committee recommendation recommends that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do approve this recommendation as stated in this report. And the passage of the bill into law will upgrade the college to a university that will provide a holistic development of teacher education in this country. Therefore, the committee recommends as follows: that section 1 to 26 should be retained as in the bill. 2, that the long and short title of the bill should be retained. And 3, the first, second, and third schedule of the bill should be retained. And 4, is explanatory memorandum should also be retained. And 5, the savings and transitional provisions should equally be retained. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
If there are no comments, we'll go to Committee of the Whole. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverse to Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we go to revert to Committee of the Whole to consider this bill clause by clause, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, we have here 28 clauses, all are retained, and in light of the report of the chairman of the committee, there's no controversial issues here. So I'm going to move swiftly through it. Those in favor that clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 11 to 20 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 21 to 27 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 28, the short title, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that schedules 1 to 3 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that explanatory memorandum on page 30 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress. That's also second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we revert to plenary report progress, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund on the Adeyemi Federal University of Education, Ondo, Establishment, etc., Bill 2018, and approve as follows. Clause 1 to 27 as recommended, Schedules 1 to 3 as recommended, Explanatory Memorandum as recommended, Short title as recommended, Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read at that time.
Yes, I agree.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be read for the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be read third time, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Adeyemi Federal College of Education, Ondo, and for other matters connected therewith, 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Adeyemi Federal University of Education, Ondo, and for other matters connected therewith, 2018, is read the third time and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the eighth order of the day is the second reading of the Federal College of Education, Misau, Bauchi State, Establishment, etc., Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, the 25th of January 2018. Mr. President, may wish to invite. Who will be presenting?
No, this one is report, presentation of report. Senator Barrow.
Mr. President, may wish to invite. No. You have the report? Once again, invite Senator Barrow Jibrin to present his report.
Senator Jibrin.
His consideration.
Yes, go ahead, Senator Jibrin. Move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this distinguished and august Senate. Mr. President, I turn to move that this August Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and Third Fund on the Federal College of Education, Missouri, the Establishment ETC Bill 2018, SB 604. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Danjumala.
Thank you, Mr. President. I distinguished colleagues. I am Senator Adjournment, President Kaduna South. I stand to consider Senate to consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and Third Form on the Federal College of Education, Missouri, established Israel Bill 2018, SB 604. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Federal College of Education, Missouri, establishing Israel Bill 2018, SB 604. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Senator Jibril, present your report, please.
This is the report of the Committee on a Bill for an Act to establish the Federal College of Education, Missouri, Bauchi State, Establishment ETC Bill 2018, SB 604. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that the Senate that is sitting on Wednesday, 7 February 2018, referred the above bill to the Committee for further legislative input, and the bill was sponsored by the Senator Comrade Isa Hamad Misau. Consequently, the committee held a public hearing on Thursday, 26 April 2018, in order to have the public and stakeholders input. The committee, as well as the participants, agreed with the intendment of the bill. Participants were all in agreement that the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Missouri, Bauchi State, will facilitate educational development of the state, particularly in the development of middle-level manpower for primary and junior secondary schools. Committee's findings. The committee found out that the Bauchi State does not have a Federal College of Education. The bill is therefore proposing the establishment of Federal College of Education, Missouri, to address this challenge in order to go with federal character in the establishment of Federal College of Education in Nigeria. The establishment of the institution will assist in addressing the shortage of teachers in the country, reduce unemployment, improve the livelihood of the people, and also play a vital role in human and economic development of the state. The Federal College of Education, Missouri, the bill is divided into 31 sections in 3 parts and contains 1 schedule. Committee's recommendation. The committee recommends as follows. Section 1 to 31 should be retained as in the bill. 2, the long and short title of the bill should be retained. And 3, the schedule of the bill should be retained. Conclusion. The committee recommends that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria approve this recommendation accordingly for the establishment of the institution will help in producing the desired manpower and expertise needed for the teaching profession, and to also ensure equity in the distribution of Federal College of Education in Nigeria, as this is in line with the modality set up by this August Senate, that all those states that do not have Federal College of Education or university or polytechnic should be provided one for the sake of equity and fairness. Therefore, the committee wishes, finally, the committee wishes to express its profound gratitude to the entire Senate for the usual support. Mr. President, so submit.
In the absence of any comments, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate Resolution Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverts to the Committee of the Whole to consider this report clause by clause. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we do resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider this bill clause by clause, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, there are 31 clauses here. They're all retained and there are no controversial issues. I'm going to move swiftly through them. Those in favor of clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 11 to 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 21 to 30 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 31 short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that schedule 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that explanatory memorandum on page 14 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. And those in favor that long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse plenary for the charge report progress.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate refers to the plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion that we revert to plenary, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and phone on the Federal College of Education, Misau, established as Federal Bill 2018 approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 30 as recommended, Schedule 1 as recommended, explanatory memoranda as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be read for the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be read third time, say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal College of Education, Misau, Bauchi State, and for other matters connected therewith, 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Misau, Bauchi State, and for other matters connected therewith, 2018, is read the third time and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the ninth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Science and Technology on the Chemical Weapons Prohibition Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Thursday, the 12th of April 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite a very distinguished Senator Yusuf A. Yusuf, who is standing for Senator Robert Boniface, Chairman of the committee.
Senator Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. I read the report. Introduction.
Just move the motion for us to consider.
Distinguished colleagues, I move a motion that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Science and Technology on the Chemical Weapons Prohibition Bill 2018 SB 585. I so move.
Senator Ben Murray Bruce.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Ben Murray Bruce, representing Biosity. I second the motion that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Science and Technology on the Chemical Weapons Prohibition Bill 2018 SB 585.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Science and Technology on the Chemical Weapons Prohibition Bill 2018 SB 585. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Yusuf, present the report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The report of the Committee on Science and Technology on a bill for an act prohibits the use of chemical and biological weapons and other matters connected there with establishment, etc. Bill SB 585/2018. Introduction. The Senate, at its sitting on Wednesday, 7 February 2018, read the bill for an act to prohibit the use of chemical weapons and other matters connected there with establishment, Bill SB 585/2018, the second time for an accelerated passage, and referred same to the Senate Committee on Science and Technology for further legislative action. Item 2 is membership of the committee, then secretariat. I go to the objectives, Mr. President. That the bill seeks to prohibit the development, production, and use of chemical weapons in Nigeria, establish a national authority for the effective implementation of chemical and biological weapons convention in Nigeria, and make provisions for related matters. B, all parties signatory to the Chemical and Biological Weapons Convention are required to establish or designate a national authority that will serve as the national focal point to ensure effective coordination as spelled out in the Chemical and Biological Weapons Convention Protocol. C, to ensure the domestication of the Chemical Weapons Convention and Biological and Toxic Weapons Convention, which Nigeria has signed and ratified. To host stakeholders meeting on chemical and biological weapons quarterly. Industrial visitation / inspection of chemical industries held twice a year for annual declaration to the Organization for the Protection of Chemical Weapons. 4, Chemical Weapon Convention technical / expert meeting to hold quarterly. Training of personnel of the authority or national authority on chemical convention. 6, attendance of the OPCW Executive Council meeting and annual meeting in Hague, Netherlands, and also a regional level meeting in Africa. Number 7, to attend the United Nations General Assembly on issues of Chemical Weapon Convention and Biological and Toxic Weapon Convention under General Disarmament. Number 8, sir, payment of annual contribution and subvention of the OPCW and BTWC. Gains and benefits to Nigeria. Since Nigeria signed and ratified the convention in 1993 and 1999 respectively, she has been a regular member of the OPCW Executive Council. Out of the 190 state parties that have signed and ratified the convention, only 41 members are in the membership of the Executive Council representing others. Number 2, Nigeria is the present chair of open-headed working group on terrorism. A Nigerian is presently the legal advisor of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. Number 3, numerous Nigerian scientists enjoy technical assistance / training from the OPCW capacity training, e.g. the Nigerian Customs, NAFDAC, universities, and research institutes. Mr. President, sir, number 4, a Nigerian was a member of the OPCW Scientific Advisory Board for 7 years. In view of the numerous advantages and gains drivable from implementation of the national / domestic legislation of CWC, especially the access to any form of protection and assistance from international community / donor agencies in the possible event of threat of chemical weapons. I will jump methodology because there are about almost 80 organizations of the stakeholders have actually endorsed this at the public hearing. Three, stakeholders' observation. Stakeholders contributed immensely in favor of the bill and recommended modifications and redrafting in some sections of the bill. Consequently, an interministerial committee was set up to scrutinize the bill and submit its recommendations to the committee. The The committee took note of the observations and treated it accordingly. The committee recommendation. Following the clause-by-clause consideration of the bill, the committee recommended as follows. Retained sections and clauses. Section 2, Section 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 16, 20, 17, 21, 22, 23, 24, 24, 25, 28, 30, 31, 34, and 36. Amended sections and clauses. Section 1, 3, 3, 4, 7, 8, 32, 35, 36. Interpretation, meaning of the words, long titles, and schedules, explanatory memorandum. C. Retained but renumbered sections and clauses. 18, 19, 20, 21, 27, 29, 30, and 31. Amended but renumbered sections and clauses. Section 33. E. Newly inserted sections, clauses, subsections. 3. Section 11, Section 12, Section 13, Section 15, and Section 16. Mr. President, distinguished senators, we have subjected both the oral and written submissions of relevant stakeholders to critical analysis and exhaustive deliberation. Taking into consideration those areas that are in conflict with other exempt laws, those that have security implications, and those that are ambiguous, the committee amended and deleted where necessary those provisions of the bill that are contentious in one way or the other. We therefore recommend that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do consider and pass this bill as amended. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, conclusion. The intention of the committee in adopting this bill is to make Nigeria safer and violence-free so that economic prosperity will be safeguarded. Passing the bill will improve Nigeria's rating as state party and member of the Executive Council of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, and also enjoy the earlier mentioned benefits on United Nations Convention on Chemical Weapons. Sir, on behalf of all the members of the committee, I wish to express our gratitude to the Senate for giving us the opportunity to serve in this regard. We do pray that the Senate adopt the recommendation of the committee and so move.
Senator Yusuf, I observed in going through the report that there are still areas of ambiguity. For example, even if you look at your section 1, you are making section 1 subsection 3. You said the national authority shall be located in the presidency. I don't think that word is recognized anywhere legally. And I think this bill is a very important bill and the subject matter of chemical weapons is a very global issue. So we must ensure that we maintain global standards in the bill of law that we pass. So I think so that we don't go back and forth, I would think the committee needs to go back and engage also with our legal unit, so that we tidy up any of these issues, so that by the time we send it to the executive, we're not embarrassed and it's sent back to us with some of these observations. So that's what I would suggest, that let the committee meet again with the legal department and iron out some of these likely ambiguities and lapses. I mean, if we all agree, then we will do that. All right, thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the consideration of this report be stood down for further legislative action.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the consideration of this report be stood down as stated by the leader. I so second.
Those in favor that this bill be stood down for further legislative work, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues,
I move that we stand down the consideration of all other items on the order paper till another legislative day.
Mr. President, the colleagues arise to second the motion as ably moved by the leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that having concluded all the items on the order paper, I hereby move that the Senate do adjourn to the Tuesday, 10th of July, 2018 at 10 a.m. prompt. So move.
Mr. President, the colleagues arise to second the motion that the Senate to adjourn to the 10th day of July 2018 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate adjourn to Tuesday, 10th July 2018, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is accordingly adjourned to Tuesday, 10th of July 2018, 10 a.m. prompt.
Of course, a purposeful deliberation by the legislators from different states and constituencies who have actually always and will always stand by their people. Well, before I leave, I want to drop this with you. Remember, at this crucial time, all we need to do is to live in harmony and take note that our national unity is a priceless asset. Until we come your way again next time, I'm Christy Awudagi from NAS Television. Goodbye and God bless you.